everybody, I'm Danny Otto. Welcome into an all-new episode of That Recap Show. Now, before we get into the episode, just want to issue major spoiler alert. We are going to be going over everything that happened in episode 5 and 6 of the Acolyte series. So if you haven't watched those episodes yet, you may want to pause this video, head over to Disneyplus, check out both of those episodes, and then come back and enjoy the breakdown. Now, with that out of the way, let's start the show.
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.
All right, joining with me to break down episode 5 and 6 of the Acolyte series, it's Jon Jon Rico!
Hi.
Hi!
How we doing?
It's been a while. I feel
It has. It's been a little bit.
We go into some Stain references. Anyway, no, moving on to Acolyte. No, it has been a little while. I apologize. I was on break, so we missed a week. But
We're back.
We're back. And I think, look, as episodes go, 5 and 6 together is not bad to be able to kind of recap these two episodes because they flow very well into each other. So I was really happy to kind of be able to, combine both these two episodes. If we had to pick two to combine, I'm kind of happy that we got to combine these two because we got, really action-packed episode with 5, and then we got like these really cool, I don't want to give away stuff for episode 6 before we get into takeaways and stuff like that. But we got more of the story progress for episode 6. So it's kind of like, it's a good combination of these two episodes. But getting right into it for episode 5, we're going to do this, the same way we do when we have like dual episode premieres and stuff like that. We're going to do, instant reactions for episode 5, takeaways for episode 5. Then we're going to do instant reactions for episode 6, takeaways for episode 6, and then predictions moving forward with the rest of the series. So kicking it right off, just get right into episode 5. We got so many reveals in this episode. It was just like every other minute we're getting I feel like we're getting a reveal of something. Not only that, so many people died. So many Jedi died. At one point, 2 Jedi died at the same time with the same, I guess, lightsaber thrust.
Yeah, they got skewered.
Yeah, skewered. Yeah. There we go.
Little Jedi kebab.
Shit. Yeah. That escalated so quickly. But damn, I mean, just like I said though, like this episode I thought was great. We got that action that we've kind of really been waiting to see. We had a lot of really cool one-on-one fights, but we also had just chaos happening at the same time with multiple Jedi getting skewered. Or taken out, I guess. But just a lot of action, a lot of really cool one-on-one moments and reveals, and just there's so much in this episode. It was just a lot, and it was a lot in a good way. But Rico, what were some of your instant reactions for episode 5?
Yeah, episode 5 to me was a real strong point for the series for me at this point of this so far. I think at the first 4 we had a really strong first 2, and then episodes 3 and 4 we kind of had a couple that kind of tiered between being okay and not so great, but also pretty good at the same time. It was kind of a jumbo bag of all types of different quality of product there. And then this one I feel like really just this to me felt like the part 2 to last week. Of course, the last one was called Day. This one's called Night. So it was just kind of cool because it was especially the way. Episode 4 just kind of ended so abruptly right when we got to the point of the stranger coming in, and then of course we just pick up with him just kicking ass right up the gate, which is really awesome. To me, some of the best probably Star Wars fight choreography they've had since the prequels, and it was just super fun to watch from the beginning. It was probably a solid 15-20 minutes of action full on, which is great. Like if you need your fill of lightsaber content, that half of the episode definitely gave it to you for sure. It was to me just some of the best of the action that they've had yet. And some pretty big reveals that happened and that moved the story forward in a big way. And I think, like you were saying, we're talking about these two episodes, 5 and 6. I think we're starting to see the series really kind of become what it's supposed to be now.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And yeah, it was just wall to wall action for this episode. And yeah, I mean, I love that it just picked up right off the bat from episode 4. And like I said, I did really enjoy having episode 5 and 6 together. We didn't plan on it. It wasn't like the series packaged those two together, but just because I was out last week, we're packaging these two episodes together. And I do enjoy that because we do kind of have, episode 6, which we're gonna get into next, but we really did have, nonstop action in episode 5, and then we kind of were able to kind of have a breather, I guess, and get a little bit more of the story that we wanted.
Yeah, it was a lot of action that led to reveals that led to more questions, and this an episode says just kind of like are getting some answers to some of those questions, but also not also getting all the answers at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. We're always gonna have more questions. But before we get in episode 6, you wanted to get to some episode 5 takeaways.
Mhm.
Awesome. All right, why don't you kick off takeaways for episode 5?
Okay, so we're talking about big reveals that happened in this episode. Of course, like the major one that kind of happens here is the actual reveal of the identity of the stranger, which turns out to be, unsurprisingly, really it's a chimera. And I was saying earlier that I was going to be really disappointed if it turned out that chimera ended up being like the mystery kind of Sith Lord. But as soon as he kind of actually became the character, and I think we got to actually see the performance that he was meant to put on. Of course, like he was doing the whole like deceitful Jedi or deceitful Sith thing where he's just kind of playing dumb, being like the sidekick to May, even though he's just kind of like right underneath her nose, like that's who he is the entire time. Very Palpatine-esque, like the way that he was the chancellor of the whole Republic, and underneath everybody's noses, he was actually the leader of the Sith. So I think that's kind of like a cool little kind of an homage to that style of character quality within the Sith. I think it's something that's really cool. And of course, just kind of like the way, like, just his whole overall demeanor changed as soon as he was actually able to be himself, right? I think it was really fascinating to watch. And again, Manji Senjo just really knocking it out of the park in this episode. Just I love the interactions between him and Soul, particularly. I think there's some really interesting stuff there that's going on between those two characters. And of course, Star Wars loves a good like thirst trap right now. And episode 5 gave them their nice one there with the biceps, of course, and it kind of evoked a couple of different characters to me. One I'll talk a little bit later on in predictions. But also there was a game called Jedi Fallen Order, of course, where there's a character called Cal Kestis, who was a Jedi that was kind of living after Order 66. And at one point, he goes to the planet Dathomir, and he runs into this character named Terran Malicos, who's become he's like one of the boss characters that you fight in the game. But he's a former Jedi general who survived Order 66 as well, and just kind of like he has developed a relationship out there with like the Knight brothers and Knight sisters out there, and leads to him becoming like also kind of crazy at the same time. But he's this shirtless kind of Jedi with 2 red lightsabers, I think, and he just looks really badass. And just that overall aesthetic to me of watching Chimera with like the ripped arms and then wielding the 2 lightsabers, like just kind of remind me a little bit of Terra Malachus. So I thought that was really cool, just because it's not going to be my first Jedi Fallen Order reference here too, which I really love that I'm getting some references to like the games as well as like TV shows and movies that like they really there's some really cool little deep cuts in here, even if they're not doing it on purpose. Like it's just making me think of them.
Yeah, I mean, most of the references I throw at pop culture, especially, is just because my brain's weird. So, like, yeah, we don't have to make any excuses because we think of a reference and it just so happens to, lead to something else. I think it's awesome when we can kind of connect little things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that reveal, yeah, it was unsurprising because that's kind of what we thought. That's definitely 100%. It's as soon as I saw that, I was like, well, Rico was right.
It was one of the 2 leading theories, basically. So it was like, okay. So okay, but again, maybe with the way we're seeing the story unfold, maybe that reveal isn't really the big reveal that maybe we're still waiting to see too. So that's also could be another thing. We're also just halfway through the series.
Exactly. And there's still so much we don't know about the backstory, about what now Soul is saying that he's going to, come clean about and all this stuff. Like, so we know some shit's happened, and that might be a bigger reveal. So you're right. Like that might not be like the, oh shit moment that we were expecting it to be. For takeaways for episode 5, I gotta talk about, one of my favorite parts of the episode in particular. is, there were so many cool lightsaber moments and lightsaber duels and just chaos happening and Jedi getting skewered and even like the boomerang part with the lightsaber and so many cool parts. But I have to say, like, just the part where I went, oh shit, was when we get Jackie having dual lightsabers, like wielding dual lightsabers. Because
she gets Kelnaka's, I think, right? Is that what
right?
it is?
She picks it up because May drops it.
Yeah.
So that part is cool, and the very short battle that we have between Chimera and her is cool. I mean, it's really short lived, but it's cool. We get, I guess, 2 parts of that. The first one,
choreography though.
Yeah. First one's cool. Second one doesn't really go her way.
She gets 3-hole punched.
Yes. But what I think makes it my favorite moment of all kind of the lightsaber battles in episode 5 is when Chimera shorts out her lightsaber to start, and then he doesn't know she has the other one, and so she kind of just like very slowly just takes it out and ignites it, and we see a reaction of both of them, and then her original one starts up again, and it's just like they both kind of go, oh.
Oh yeah, the classic, like the person, like the hero smiles and then like they got the upper hand kind of a deal.
Yeah.
It's always, I always like those little moments.
it was just a perfect moment, and I loved it. And I went, oh shit! Like,
how the turn have tabled.
Yeah, exactly. I just thought it was so cool to see that reaction for both characters in that exact moment, really quick. It was a very subtle reaction for both of them. I just thought it was really cool, really cool, and it just made that moment like that much cooler to me. Like, look. Dual wielding lightsabers is cool. Like, no matter what. Anytime it's happening, I think it's cool. But just that little tiny reaction from both of them just made that my favorite part.
Yeah. I love that she's like a Padawan. Like, we see her earlier on in like the Padawan class with that real badass like redheaded Jedi. I want to learn more about that guy too. But just like the fact that you see her like learning, I mean, she could just already be a badass, but you just see her going through her emotions. And you're just like, dang, she can really like move that. I think they're just moving like sticks at that point, but she's like just like a kendo stick, and she's like, dang, she's got really good work with that. And then you see like the actress pushing on TikTok all the work that they put in for that, and you see all that work put in that fight scene right there, and it's just like, damn, that was really cool. But you think that like she's probably not even like the highest ranking Jedi there. She held her own better than most of those Jedi. It's like got stomped right away too, and also shout out to York, man. I think he had some good moments in there too before he got the ultimate
R.I.P.
bad end of the stick there, man. But he definitely didn't go out like a bitch.
Can I just say for a second, if he hadn't been killed, I thought he was gonna get turned. Like it just seemed like his character was like conflicted, and I just thought there was a moment where I thought he could have been like, because he was like, he gets in your head. And like, you remember how he was saying that to Osha? He was like, he gets in your head type of thing. And I
like he would have gotten like corrupted or something like that.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna, before he got killed. I mean, obviously not now, but I thought that was like laying the breadcrumbs for him to make a turn. And I wanted that just because I thought it would have been a cool sub plot line going type of thing going forward. Like maybe that would have been like an oh shit reveal, like reveals that he got turned at some point or something. I just thought that would have been cool. But you ready for episode 6?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. All right, getting right into it. Just quick reactions to episode 6. 2 words: lightsaber whip. Like, holy shit! Like, that's been teased so many times, and I'm so upset because it looks so awesome. But she just does it so matter-of-factly, and it's never talked about. It's never like, oh, she is a special lightsaber. Nothing.
Oh, yeah.
And it's done.
Yeah, well, like, I guess this is the Star Wars nerd too, because Vernestra is an established character from High Republic like comics and books too. Like her having a lightsaber whip is already like a known thing. So it's like, okay, here's her showing off her lightsaber whip. So that's kind of like a thing. So I was like, oh, are we gonna see it? To me, it was just like, oh, cool, we got to see it. But why is it that we did the same thing that we did with Soul a couple episodes ago, where she just takes out a bug and then puts it away? Like, I want to see her using it in a fucking fight. Like that's kind of like what I'm looking forward to seeing.
So
right?
I mean,
Maybe we're building up to that. Go. Maybe they're teasing it so that we're actually going to see her and like look cool in some point. Because let me tell you, Vernestra has not lived up to my expectations so far. I want to see her be badass, and I was like, yeah, you got this badass weapon that's the same color as Samuel L. Jackson's lightsaber. Look, if you're gonna be that cool, man, you got to do some cool crap with it. So yeah, taking out the same roly-poly bug that Soul did is not as cool to me.
I mean, she doesn't no look, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like to be fair. But yeah, so this goes back to me not kind of knowing the source material as well as you, because like
I'm vaguely familiar with it, but I do know that little detail about her. Yeah.
So for me, but we both have the same reaction. Like it just happened so fast, so matter of factly, and it's just like, all right, whatever.
And I saw that thing flap its wings. I was like, oh, this is yep.
It happens so fast, and it's just like nothing. I was like,
yeah,
that's badass. I want to see that again, like more. Like, but anyway, yeah. I mean, that was the closest thing. Before I get in like further into takeaways, what were some of your reactions to episode 6?
Yeah, so this one, this was a lot more story driven, of course, from last week. Just like our, getting our break from the heavy action that we got, and also just getting some answers and a little bit of progression in the story from the way that the last episode ended, of course. Because again, we didn't really talk about from episode 5 how the way that things ended with May and Osha basically like ending in different, they're swapping side here, and it ends with this great shot of Chimera standing over Osha, just kind of like, what can I do with this, basically. And we kind of get to see like the beginning stages of a future like kind of master apprentice relationship here between them. I think that's what I really expected the show to be at first. So, like when I heard about a show called The Acolyte that was set way before the Phantom Menace, that was possibly dealing with like some like assist-based storyline. This is basically what I thought we were getting, like this story of I thought really realistically I would have liked if this all these interactions between Osha and Chimera happened earlier in the show, even if it was like just with May, and like we were just sticking with May being like the bad girl. Like we just had Chimera that just like out there as the villain to begin with. Like I think that would have been a cool dynamic to see from the very beginning, and then we get to watch this big story unfold between the Jedi and the Sith, and I'm watching these two different sides and stuff like that. I think that's really what I wanted to see out of that whole thing, and I think we were really like we only got a few episodes left now, so I feel like we're only getting a little bit of it, but I really like that we're actually getting like the real, what I feel like is the real meat of the story.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. This actually leads perfectly into my takeaway for episode 6. So you want to get to some episode 6 takeaways? Awesome. All right, I'm gonna kick off takeaways for episode 6, and just like you said, I mean this whole episode. I mean, episode 5 ends with us seeing the swap and me yelling at my TV screen, going, "I can't believe Soul doesn't know that he's talking to May right now."
Yeah, do you not see the tattoo on her face?
Exactly. I'm like, you should be sensing something. Like something should be different. Everybody else recognizes it. But
part of me almost feels like he might have been, and he might have just been leading her on to at the same time.
I mean, that's what I was gonna say. So I mean,
we're still waiting to get more of that, though, I guess.
Right. I think maybe in the beginning moment, maybe he didn't notice because he was like so flustered about it happening. Yeah. But there was definitely a point, because in episode 6,
once he calmed down,
he realizes it very quickly at certain points in the ship. He's like, "Yeah, I know it's May." That's why he like
she don't know how to fix his damn ship.
Yeah. Also, why is it so easy to factory reset Pip? It's just like, all right, you're wiped. You're not your robot self anymore.
Yeah, really.
So bad. You can't factory reset any of our tech like that fast, like right now. But anyway, yeah. So this episode was really cool because we basically got to see each sister kind of walking a mile in the other's shoes at this point, basically. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's like Parent Trap.
Yeah, exactly. They swap.
Yeah. Kind of crazy. It's actually kind of like Parent Trap.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, if we want to go down the argument that Soul didn't realize it was, really May, and he still thought it was Osha for a little while before he like actually relaxed and calmed down and was able to sense it, then yeah, I mean, we got to see, or May got to see how Soul, was treating Osha, and vice versa, Osha got to see how, Chimera has been kind of, we hope, has been treating May, or at least was treating May at the beginning before he kind of, started sending her out on revenge missions type of thing. But yeah, I think it's really cool. And just like you said, I think this is the cool, mystery part that I want from this series and I'm enjoying from this series is kind of seeing, the different points of view all happening at the same time and kind of, trying to piece together the story and kind of seeing when all these characters are going to come together and everything's going to come to a head again type of thing. So I think it's really cool that way. I enjoyed kind of seeing them kind of in their other sister's space, basically, type of thing. I enjoyed seeing all of that. And yeah, I mean, there's predictions I want to get to and stuff like that. But before I get ahead of myself, Rico, what were some of your takeaways for episode 6?
Yeah, I did. I enjoyed watching kind of like that dynamic as well, and also how it almost is like very fitting for each character. I think as well, just to be in that setting, I think is really cool. But man, the final shot of this episode is, I think, one of my favorites because again, I'm gonna bring in another reference though. But again, the shot of Osha putting on the Cortosis helmet. And before I get into that, I actually didn't really even talk about the introduction of Cortosis, which I think is really cool. It's actually something that was introduced in Legends canon like a long time ago, and it's something that they adapted into like the actual canon after, because there's the pre and post Disney canon, right? And this is the pre-Disney stuff from all the books in the 90s and all that. So the fact that they actually brought that aspect of that the Legends canon into here, they've done it with a lot of other stuff in the past too. Like I think they kind of pick and choose the stuff they want to bring in and be like, okay, we can work that in here and there. Like I think this is the cool way of bringing Cortosis because one, you see the way that it works differently compared to something like Beskar. Which is also something that's lightsaber resistant. But when you hit this, it shortens out the lightsaber, which I think is a really cool little detail that they incorporate into it. And I love the way that that Chimera is kind of explaining it to Osha when he's working on it, and it's just really cool because like everyone's talking about like after the last episode, like what is that helmet? Why can't it just like make the lightsabers turn off like that? Like why won't it? And it's like this guy. Sometimes you gotta wait another episode and they'll give you the answer. But the end of the episode, when Osha finally is like all by herself and she has the helmet there and she's like, all right, I'm gonna put this thing on. Because Chimera is talking about how like it shuts out everything basically but the Force. And then you get the shot of basically her point of view for putting on the helmet, and it's just like pitch black, except for that little slit that you can see in the mask. And you're just like, dang. First of all, he kicked all those Jedi's ass without even being able to basically see, which is even more impressive when you think about his character. But just the shot of like her and the breath, like you could just hear her own breath and like almost like a meditative state. I think you could tell she was trying to like get in touch with like probably the dark side of the Force, maybe, or just with the Force in general. But again, bringing it back in Jedi Fallen Order, it was reminiscent to me of a scene in that game, which I guess it's kind of a spoiler, but basically the game came out a long time ago, so who cares? But basically, the second sister, the kind of like the main Inquisitor villain that you're fighting throughout the game, it turns out to be the old Jedi Padawan of one of the Jedi Masters that you're partners with throughout the game. I wish I could remember her name. Seer, I think her name is. And then her Padawan's name was Trilla, who ended up becoming the second sister. But there's a whole scene in that where basically you're watching from Trilla's point of view, and you see her put on the Inquisitor mask in front of her master, who's like, no, don't do it. So it's actually like a really powerful scene. But it just, for some reason, just kind of like, I just imagine like if she had done that in front of Soul or something like that, like that we could have gotten that same kind of moment. But just kind of watching somebody that you know is inherently good, but like just kind of being corrupted, being persuaded by a darker, or just like a life path that they see as appealing to them. So it's just like, yeah, it's a very to me it was very reminiscent, something like that. And yeah, it's a very interesting character arc to me for Osha to have. Right? I think, and when you look back on what they've kind of planted with her character, as far as like the seeds of what, like, her character's path, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And there's more I want to expand on that with predictions and stuff like that. But yeah, it was, I know you related it to Jedi Fallen Order moments. I gotta tell you, to me, I was thinking Darth Vader. Like it just hearing that breath and just like quiet and breath, and then just cuts to credits. Like like the chills of when we originally get Darth Vader's mask like fully going on for the
Yeah,
first time
the
type of
last
thing.
thing that he sees before that's all he sees
Right.
essentially, which has always been like the whole harrowing part of that to me.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, I think any scene of someone putting on a mask and kind of going darker is just as has significant meaning within Star Wars in general, and it's gonna hit every single time for sure.
yeah,
I love it. I
absolutely.
love it.
You want to get to some predictions?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Why don't you kick off predictions?
Okay. So there's a lot of I'm still looking forward to finding out about. I think mainly the big thing is still getting that kind of like I keep calling it like the part B or the part two to what happened on Brendock that night, and I feel
Mhm.
like we were getting teased with what Saul kind of helping May and kind of like opening up to her and just kind of like giving her his side of the story to her and helping her figure out what's going on because it kind of seems like she was kind of ready to kind of change her mind about him the more that she learns about him in general, because she's always had this perception about him that is probably false. But again, there's still a lot about Soul that we don't really understand
Right.
at the end of the day too. So that's he's a very interesting character. I'm wondering if there's any kind of relationship between him and Chimere that we don't know about because there was that one interaction before that he was unmasked where Saul goes, "Why wouldn't you?" or why does someone have to hide behind a mask and that? And then Chimera responds with like, why don't you why don't you say something like that? Like you should know that basically the same thing. Basically,
Mm.
he says something of the same effect. And so like I'm wondering why he kind of threw that jab at Soul to begin with. It is something that he knows about Soul from his past. And of course Chimera's past in general, as a former Jedi that he says, and what happened with him and his master is all very interesting to me. But there's one thing that they incorporated in these last two episodes that I think is very, very interesting. And it's the incorporation of Kylo Ren's theme music from the sequel trilogy,
Oh.
which I find like it's just like that dun, 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 and they just kind of like they put it there at the end of the episode. I think both times they put it in the credits for sure. But I'm like, why would they just throw in a Kylo Ren like kind of nod right there for some reason? I wonder if there's if we're kind of getting misled into maybe Chimera not being a Sith, but maybe possibly like an earlier version of a Knights of Ren, like a Knights of Ren,
Mhm.
because the Knights of Ren go back a while. I think there's no real like clear timetable of how long they've really been around, so they can really kind of play around with this. I think, and to me, the mask does feel very like Knights of Ren style as opposed to like a Sith style. It does invoke a lot like of Kylo Ren's actual look when you think
Yeah.
about it. And so I wonder if he's just like because there was always a version called Ren, who is the leader of the Knights of Ren, and then one of them I was actually I was talking about the whole biceps look of Chimera earlier. Another reference of mine would be the Ren character from the comics. So we had a really cool looking mask, but he just had like no shirt and like a little bit of a scarf, but he was like super ripped. And I'm like, okay, this guy's badass. Uh, so like, yeah, those are the kind of the guys that I think of. So I wonder if they're actually going to do some cool tie-ins there, like High Republic, Knights of Ren, prequel stuff. Like it's a really cool blend of like all different eras of Star Wars. So yeah, there's a lot that I think that this could lead to too. And also, I don't know what the hell's going on for Nestra, but I think there's something very interesting about her just going around looking at the whole like the crime scene, just being like, okay, and then just going next thing, okay, that happened, okay, and so yeah, just something probably to look forward to there as well.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what goes back into the mystery that we don't really know that we think is kind of going to be the oh shit moment more so than
Yeah,
the reveal with Chimere.
are they gonna think it's a Sith? Are they gonna cover it up? There's that whole notion of it. Yeah, there's a lot they gotta figure out.
Yeah, I don't know if I still don't fully trust Vanestra. Like I just
Mm.
something's a little off. Uh, she didn't fully say, Soul wouldn't do this, so she's not like, you know what I mean? Like when the guy that was with her
Mhm.
goes, could he have done this? He is the strongest one, like that could have done like this type of thing. Like she doesn't say no, he definitely wouldn't.
Yeah, she kinda like how she goes, "That's quite an accusation," but then she doesn't, like, keep shutting him down. She just lets the
Exactly.
guy keep saying that. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Exactly. So there's something a little sus there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but kind of getting into my prediction, like I said, kind of goes with the takeaway where you were talking about with, I still think it's possible that by the end of this series, we have a light side May and a dark side Osha.
Feels like that's where we're going. Yeah.
Right. But not going for obvious. Like I'm not saying that they're going to be like Sith and Jedi. I'm just saying we're going to have them kind of moving to the opposite ends of spectrum as far as the Force type of thing. I'm not saying they're we're going to have Osha being Sith apprentice and May being Jedi apprentice type of thing. I'm just saying, like, I think their relationship with the Force is making a turn for both sisters, I think. And I think that's going to unlock the potential of each one of their kind of relationship with the Force type of thing. And I think because May has been trained by Chimera to kind of use emotion and it basically use the Force as the dark side type of thing, like through anger, through all of that stuff. But I think, I think if she, speaks with Soul and kind of, starts to unravel the stuff that happened in the past and stuff like that, and she's able to kind of back a little bit further down from being so angry, she might unlock a little bit more use of the Force, not using it just with anger type of thing. And I think just like you were saying with the, with Osha putting on the helmet at the very end, we're getting her who basically hasn't used Force powers so far in the series. I mean, we see her trying as a little kid, and she's not nearly as strong at it as May is as a little kid.
She tries to use it when she tries to break out of the prison thing too, and it doesn't. Like it moves a little bit, but doesn't do it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of the same thing that happened when they were little kids, where she she catches like the butterfly thing, but she just kind of makes it shake, whereas May can like make it stop in midair and kind of. But I think she's going to instantly, upgrade powers like instantly with the helmet on.
She's going to tap into something.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I don't think they're going to be on completely different ends of the spectrum. But I do kind of see them unlocking new potential with the Force on kind of going to the opposite sides than where they started type of thing. And I mean, I didn't even think about this. I didn't even catch the Kylo Ren theme, which is really cool, but it does kind of lay a few breadcrumbs. Now we can go super, theorizing and stuff like that, where it lays the breadcrumbs of, what Kylo Ren and Rey had to do, at the end of the sequel trilogy to kind of combine and then work together and stuff like that and be kind of, what was it? The Force dyad? The
dyad. Oh yeah. What we talked about May and Osha possibly being to, so that there's that whole connection as well for sure.
Right. So we could be getting like the breadcrumbs of that's what these two are. That's what these twins are like. And they both needed to kind of figure out what side of the Force that they needed to be wielding to really unlock their true connection and stuff to the Force type of thing. And so like they're able to kind of really unleash powers when they're using what they should be using, I guess, type of thing. That's just what I kind of thought. And like I said, we can go down crazy rabbit holes if we want to connect the theme with the potential at the end of the sequel trilogy with the two sisters. Like, I mean, it's just so many things we can potentially go with that.
Yeah. I like that though. Like we've really hit a point in the series where like the series can go so many different ways just based off of what's been set up. And it's hard to really pinpoint like what exactly is going to be the end result.
Right. And that's what's really cool. And that's, I mean, it's still a very interesting series because as we get reveals, and like we said with episode 5, tons of reveals.
Yeah.
We got more questions. And we have, we don't really know where we're going yet. And there's so many things it could tie to, and there are no wrong answers yet.
Yeah. And we talk about like, Jedi are supposed to be people who kind of like, they're not necessarily void of all attachment, but they do a good job of kind of separating their attachment from what they need to do. But to me, Soul is so complex because it seems like he's got an attachment that he can't let go of, and it's making his character really complex. And I have no idea really where like what's going to end up being the end result for his character because of that. Because in this episode, he's kind of letting some emotion go. I'm like, that's not very Jedi of you to do. So I'm like, what's going on here, character arc here? Like, what are you holding out here? So yeah, there's so many like fascinating questions that I can't wait to see get answered, and hopefully within the next couple episodes.
Exactly. But as we always say, that's what we think. Let us know in the comments below. What did you think of episodes 5 and 6? And what was your favorite lightsaber duel? Like, just give us something. And what are your most important questions after episode 6 moving forward for the rest of the series? And as always, don't forget, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to hear about all of our latest audio and video podcast releases. Bye, everybody!
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.